Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of 外資系裏技英語. My name is BJ Fox and I am joined today as always by Ishii Terumi. Hello Terumi.
どうも石井てるみです。外資系裏技英語今週も始まりました。皆さんよろしくお願いいたします。イェイ。
Terumi, we've got another interview today.
お、インタビューですか、楽しみ。So who are we going to interview?
It is our first ever returning guest, none other than Shu Matsuo Post.
お、週末をポストさん。初めてのリターニングゲスト。はい。
We interviewed him way back in episode 23 and we spoke about leadership, but he's also very active in gender equality.
エピソード23にご出演いただいた週末をポストさんで、その時にはリーダーシップについてお話ししていただいたんですけれども、ジェンダーイクオリティについての活動も盛んな方なんですよね。
Yeah. He's even written a book about it. It's called I Took Her Name and it details his journey, his adventure in trying to take his wife's name when he got married.
週松尾ポストさんは前回ご出演いただいたねエピソード23ではリーダーシップについてお話ししていただいたんですけれども、実はジェンダーイクオリティについてのご活動もされていて、この度 I took her name 奥様の名前を取ったんだというタイトルの本も上梓されたんですね。
And I've long wanted to do an episode about gender bias, and I thought he'd be the perfect guest for it.
はい、ジェンダーバイアスについてのエピソードを私たちもお届けしたいと思っていたところで、週末をポストさんぴったりの方だということで、この度またインタビューさせていただくことになりました。
And gender bias, I guess you would describe that in Japanese as 性差別とか性別における偏見とか思い込みとかかな。And I think it's interesting, and we'll talk about this in the interview, about how in the English language there is a level of gender bias.
英語だとジェンダーバイアスにもレベルがあると。
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, for example, sometimes we say chairman instead of chairperson, which means because we think people in powerful positions are men. Or sometimes when I'm talking about fictional situations, I often call the boss him instead of her. Why does this inequality exist in the language?
ああ、なるほど。議長、チェアマンという時にも、チェアパーソンではなく、ついついチェアマンと言ってしまうとか。Doesn't man implies like every human being?
Does it?
No.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
But I don't think it's in this example. I think it gives an image that men are powerful and women maybe aren't.
まあね、ポリスマンとかも全てそうですけれども、ついついマンっていう言葉を使ったりですとか、あと、この外資系裏技英語の中で架空のシチュエーションでボスが出てきた時とかにもついついそのボスのことを he で指していってしまったりってことをしてしまいますよね。一個しかなきゃいいのにね。
It's a bad habit, but it's unconscious. So anyway, we want to talk about that with Shu Matsuo Post and learn some urawazas on how to promote equality through language in the workplace.
はい、ということで、週末をポストさんには私たちが気づかない間に使ってしまっている英語、まあそういったついついね、マンとか言ってしまったり、he とかを使ってしまうことを避けるにはどうしたらいいかっていう裏技をお伺いしていこうと思います。
Let's check it out. Shu, welcome back. What's up? What's been going on?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me back. I'm excited to be here. There's been a lot. Starting with, I became a father recently. Yeah.
Wow! おめでとうございます。
Yes, Me too.
Yes, you too.
そうね、BJ もあれ、新米パパという意味ではお二人は近いんじゃないですか
？When was the birth, Shu?
September 16th.
September 16th. I was July 1st.
ちょっと先輩ですね。
あ、じゃあもう2ヶ月違うだけか。
I'm a senpai. If you need any advice on how to be a parent, just ask me. I know everything.
もっと先輩いるからね、ここに。ルーベンっていうね。 まあでも同じ学年、でもアメリカだとちょっと違ったりするのか。まあでもほぼ同い年のね。
Well, no, strictly speaking, in the UK, my daughter would be a year older in school years.
Oh, that's right.
Than your son. Is it a son?
Yeah, it's a boy.
Yes. Excellent. And actually, and then looking at your background,
そう、どこいらっしゃるんですか?
check out the YouTube channel because I'm in my apartment. Telling me is she telling me in her house, and Shu looks like you're in some kind of home drama.
そうそう、映画のセットの中にいる
a bunch
み
of
たい。
pictures of my in-laws, my wife's family, basically. So, they don't look like me, but that's why I'm at her parents' home
Which is?
in Minnesota,
ミ
United
ネソ
States.
タ州。アメリカに今いらっしゃると、
はい。
ね、前回お会いした時は日本橋でしたけれども。
そうですね。今、アメリカで雪が降ってます。寒いです。こんにちは。
うわ、雪降ってるんですね。Wow.
Yeah, Midwest. It's pretty cold out here.
Excellent. Well, great to hear that you're doing well.
いやいや、すごいですよ。私が結婚相談所に入って辞めている間に皆さんもどんどん人生の駒を前に進めていて。はい。まあさておきね。すいません、松尾さん。どうでもいい話をしてしまいましたけども。Okay, anyways.
Okay, yeah. So today, what we want to do, Shu, is talk about gender bias. You are definitely someone who's an advocate for gender equality. It's something we spoke about the last time we were on. Could you give us a one-sentence summary of what gender bias is?
Sure. I would say gender bias is an unfair difference in the way women and men are treated. And it often happens subconsciously.
Subconsciously.
やっぱ無意識にしてしまっている性差別というところなんですよね。
そうですね。
And in the introduction, Tenemi and I were speaking about this because I'm guilty of it. Because often on this podcast, we give lots of examples of situations of, let's say the fictional boss, the fictional client, the hypothetical boss, when I'm saying you could be talking to someone. We try to refer to them in a gender neutral way, but often I will say things like, did you speak to him? What did he say when talking about a client? For some reason, unconsciously in my head, the client is typically a Japanese man, smoking too much, spends his weekends in pachinko, cheats on his wife.
ゴルフじゃないそこは。
Sorry?
It can be golf, not pachinko. 外資系の人はあんま、
That's true.
あんまこういうこと言っちゃいけないな。これもbias, kind of bias だから、sorry.
Exactly. And I realize I'm very guilty of it, and it's something that we try to stop doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also something I edit out a lot.
Oh.
So, BJ probably does it more than even we know.
Yeah. Well, I do think I notice it now. I'm like, done it again. So even though it's unconscious now, my ishiki, my awareness of it is improving. And by the way, Ishi telling me you do it as well sometimes.
私もやってる?
Yeah.
Am I saying like him to
Yeah.
when I refer to like the boss or the client?
Yeah.
やってんだろうなね、本当ね、すいません、皆さん、不快に思われた方。いや、なかなかね、注意はしているつもりでもね、なかなか余裕がないとそういうことをついつい口にしてしまったりするんですけども、結局それがダメですからね。どうしたらいいんですか、松尾さん。
そうですね。やっぱり、こうやって話し始めることからが、大切だと思うんですけど、It's subconscious because we don't talk about it, and it happens very often. Like going back to your point, BJ, if you refer to a boss as him, it's probably because that's the way it's been, and you've most likely had more male bosses than female bosses, right? But if you actually talk about this, like it's all about awareness, talking about, hey, like I've actually had a female boss, so we should be careful of referring to all bosses as male, So I think this is a good start. And
yeah, like the goal of this is not to say that I'm sexist or seconds ago, is she telling me sexist? It's to say that we do this without realizing it, and without becoming aware of it, we can't fix it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Shu, we gave the example of the word salaryman as a Japanese example of, let's say, a gender biased stereotype. Do you have any phrases in English, particularly in a work environment, that maybe have the same effect.
Yeah, if like when you're hiring someone and found someone like that fits the criteria, a lot of times we say, "Oh, he's the best man," or "best man for the job," or "find the best man for the job," even though it could be a female candidate. So that could be one.
That's a great example. So the phrase, it's almost like a set phrase, best man for the job.
Best man for the job こんな適材適所な人いないみたいなそんな感じですかね。ぴったりの人見つかったみたいな時にもついつい best man for the job っていう言い方をすると。
And like Shu said, it doesn't necessarily mean a man, it just means the best person for the job. But the phrase is the best man for the job, which I guess comes from years and years of using it where you're only looking for men.
man っていう言い方っていうのはやっぱり男性になってしまう。cause like human being とかにも man が入ってるし、
Yeah.
You're thinking of mankind?
mankind とか、
Yeah.
でもやっぱり man っていうと男性を指しているっていう意味に取られてしまうってことですかね。
I think it could be both ways, and that's why it's gender bias. Because when you can be very vague, like mankind. Are you talking about just men or women included, right? But you never say womankind to refer to the humankind, right? So
そうですね。
But I think for that phrase, and this, I don't know if this isn't a Urawaza, but for best man for the job, I think it's definitely more politically correct, less gender bias to say the best person for the job.
yeah.
そうですね。best person for the job って言っておいた方が。言っておいた方がっていう言い方がなんか投げやりだな。best person for the job っていう言い方を言いましょう。はい。っていう言い方にしましょう。
Hi. Okay. And I'll introduce another phrase that I agree sounds gender biased is often we'll say that, that developer or that marketing team is a 3-man team or a 5-man team. So when we're describing how many people are working, we'll just use man. And again, just say person.
5-person team とかね。マンパワーとか言うからな。manpower.
Yeah, what
should be
people
should
power?
be people power. person power. People power か。
Yeah, but if you say people power, it kind of implies that we're trying to overthrow the Abe Seiken. People power. It's got like a little bit of a...
確かに人民の力みたいなね。
Yeah.
なんか民族の力みたいになっちゃいますけどもね。
Manpower.
なるほどね。
What, okay.
Yeah, I
Shu-san.
think that I hear that a lot. And that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Labor, maybe? Or resources?
Ah, labor か。
Yeah.
なるほど。
I think resources. Yeah, I think resources sounds like the best word for that.
3 resources team?
Oh, no. So 5-person team, they have a lot of resources
なるほど、なるほど。
Yeah.
ほんほんほんほん
instead of manpower. Yeah.
なるほど。そういうことか。manpower の代わりに resources をぜひ使ってみましょう。
Do you know what? I think in the UK there is a recruitment company similar to Recruit or Michael Page called Manpower.
おお、マンパワーっていう人材会社があるんですね。
I wonder if they're changing their company name.
I worked for them in Holland.
But hold on. Ruben used to work for Manpower. You used to work for a sexist recruitment agency.
I was a student in Holland. I didn't have a choice.
And what are they called now?
But I did a lot of cleaning and kitchen jobs working with a lot of females. So does that balance out? I don't know.
I would say, just for any of our listeners listening, Ruben was trying to be funny there.
It was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. ははははは。そんな台所、何お料理とかもしたんで。What do you mean? You cook?
Yeah, I was a lunch lady. Also a sexist term. So I was breaking gender stereotypes.
Well, so we call in the schools. In the school, you have these ladies. This is getting worse. You have people. You have people who serve in the shokudo.
もうね、日本でも給食のおばさんってついつい言っちゃいますからね。
Yeah.
おじさんかもしれないのに。
There's a famous British drama about 給食 食堂 and it's called Dinner Ladies and it's all about the drama what happens in the kitchen. So,
なるほどね。食堂のおばさんの物語。はい。Okay.
Okay, so it just shows it exists. And a final one, just as an example of how this exists, is often words like lunch ladies, dinner ladies, fireman, mailman, spokesman, chairman. These words that we say in normal English all have the word man because typically the kaicho is a man. Therefore, we say chairman. But now we need to start getting used to saying chairperson.
なるほど。今までこうやってスポークスマンとかチェアマンとかファイアマン、メイルマンって言われてたものっていうのはやっぱり典型的に男性がやってきてた割合が大きいからどうしてもやっぱマンと言われてきたけれどもこれからは言い方を変えなきゃいけない。ファイアパーソンになるのこれから。
I'd say firefighter.
Firefighter.
そうね。ファイアファイターって言葉がありましたね。
Fireperson.
What about male なんだろう。
Mail carrier.
Mail carrier ね。なるほど。はい。
Okay, here's another one. This is a good game. What would you say for weatherman?
Weatherman.
Isn't there an actual word for that? Something
it's like meteorologist.
Meteorologist. Yeah,
exactly.
Weather forecaster.
Weather forecaster.
Weather forecaster.
Is
That works.
education is a meteorologist.
Meteorologist.
メテオロロジスト、気象予報士。
Okay, here's one. How would you say nikuman? Is that niku person, or would you call it a niku dumpling or something?
Because nikuman, that doesn't imply a person, right? Like man, I thought it means like full, like niku ga manman da kara nikuman. I don't know, I just made it up.
Okay,
さんどうですか？
めっちゃ丁寧に答えてくださってる。まあね、筋肉マンだったらね、He is a guy, he is a male, so 筋肉マンでいいと思うけどね。
アンパンマン。
アンパンマンもね。
Yeah.
スーパーマンもね。
Yeah.
カレーパンマンもね。
Okay, here's a question.
They are all male.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've definitely gone off topic. Sorry. We've definitely changed the topic here. Sorry, Shu. We're taking it seriously. We do think gender bias is very serious.
I love it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. So let's move on to the urawaza. Like we've talked about trying to not say the word man, but changing it to either person or dumpling or something else that's more appropriate. But is there another urawaza? How should we tackle the issue of us unconsciously using the word he and adding gender bias?
We can use the word they to be more gender neutral.
They.
Yeah. So instead of he or she, we can use they.
一人でも使っちゃって大丈夫ですか？その相手を指すときに。
大丈夫です。Yes.
大丈夫。
It's okay.
ああ、そうなんだ。なるほど。
As you say this, it's like so obvious. It's almost like one of the earliest words you learn in English, like he, she, they, him, her, them. But the reality is, even as a native speaker, we make the mistakes and tend to use he instead of they, and we forget that it's there.
なるほど。ネイティブの人でもそこら辺はもうごっちゃになってしまうことがあるということですね。
So in future conversations, let's say with Ruben, where we're talking about, okay, I'm going to see the client, instead of saying, what did he say? I will say, what did they say?
They say なんだ。
And just to illustrate the rules here, so instead of he or she, use they. Him and her, the word is terumi. Them. I spoke to them.
I'm going to meet them. でいいんですね。
Yeah. And then if I said the boss has his own opinions, what should I say?
The boss has have になるのかな have まあそんな考えなくていいのか have their own opinion.
Yeah, I think has is fine, but it's instead of him or her, use their.
Their になるんだ。Their ね。Their opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
My boss won't be happy with this result. I wonder what their reaction will be.
よく書き言葉だと his, her とかなんか S/HE とかあるじゃないですか。
Yeah.
あれはあのまま残していいんですか？喋るときは they にする。どうですかね、
I think that's the proper way to do it. If you want to be super correct, that's the best way, he or she. But when you're speaking, it takes a lot of time. And that's why they can be 裏技. Yeah.
ああ、なるほど。
And often when I've heard people say in like work environments, and they say something like, so what did he or she say? And it's almost like an afterthought. So I think using they, their, them is much better. Yeah.
そこはもう頑張ってこれから慣れていきましょう。ね、he or she とかわざわざ言うこともなんか聞いたことありますけどもね、まあやっぱちょっと長いしまどろっこしいということで、代わりに they を使って大丈夫。
Shu, thank you very much for that urawaza. I think it's really interesting that, you know, they are words that you learn in middle school, they, them, their, but they're more important than ever, I think, now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any techniques to maybe be more aware of these language biases?
Technique to be more aware. I think, like I said earlier, having these conversations and also like, if you're having a conversation with someone and you start to say like refer to someone as they, you know, the other person can be like, oh, it's actually a man or it's actually a woman, so that the conversation after that you can use the pronoun he or she, so that you know it makes it easier for the conversation that happens afterwards. You don't have to keep using they.
Okay.
If they don't disclose the information, you can continue to use they, them, their. But I think, you know, it's a good idea to kind of disclose like, oh, it's actually my boss is a man or my boss is a woman, so that you can be in that conversation. You acknowledge that that's you're being very gender neutral. Good for you.
Yeah.
You know, that's a way to acknowledge the other person.
Yeah. And I think if you're aware of it and you change it or you try to be better, then it slowly spreads to other people. People slowly become more aware.
Exactly.
So I think it is a good thing. In terms of Japanese, though, you know, as I was thinking, you know, salary man, you can't say salary person. What should I say?
Right. So if you think about what a salary man is, so it's a person who are employed by a company who receives a salary, right? So to me, it's an employee. So in Japanese, 会社員. Pretty neutral.
Yeah.
てるみさんいかがですか？
いや、私も会社員なのかなと思って、会社員っていう言い方があるのになんでサラリーマンっていう言い方がでもう一個あったんだろうって逆にちょっと思っちゃいましたけれども、まあ会社員でいいですよね。
And likewise, employee is really good for English to say that. Yeah.
確かに。
Yeah. Shu, how long are you taking for paternity leave?
So total 7 months. So technically 6 months, and I added 1 month of paid leave before that. So I'm taking 7 months off.
And feel free to not answer this question. What was the reaction in the company?
Actually, it was well received. I'm not going to lie, I was nervous to talk to my boss. And I've been talking about gender equality for some time. And when my wife and I found out that she was pregnant, so it was back in this January, we started to plan, okay, like, what are we going to do? We said, well, she was going to take her maternity leave anyway. And, you know, I needed to decide what I was going to do. And I wanted to keep my word, right? Walk the talk. So, yeah, we planned it out. I decided that I was going to take 7 months off, and I went to my employer and like, hey, this is what I want to do. And my boss, who's a man, said, that's great for you. Yeah, let's make it happen. So he made the transition very smooth, and I'm very thankful. and grateful for that. So, yeah.
おー
Wow.
いい話だ。
And actually, and on that note, talking about you and your family, tell us about your book. It's the English title is I Took Her Name. The Japanese title is 彼女の名前を奪い取った。
奪い取った。彼女の。彼女。
奪い取ったわけではないですもんね。
奪い取った。Is it a sequel? Is it a sequel to Shinkai Kantoku's Kimi no Na wa Your Name? Is it related?
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not related. But
What's it about?
It is a book about lessons from my journey into vulnerability, authenticity, and feminism. So there you go. Vulnerability and authenticity right there. So I took my wife's name when we got married over 3 years ago. So technically, we combined our last names. But what happened was, so my name was Matsuo.
Yeah.
My wife's name was just Post. And we combined it to Matsuo Post. So, yeah.
It's one name.
One name. So if you look at my koseki, it's actually Matsuo Posto.
With no hyphen.
No hyphen.
No hyphen.
これ漢字とカタカナなんですか？
日本語だと。
もう世界で一つだけの名字ですね。
So what happened was, like, why didn't you name it? We combined our names, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm Japanese national. My wife is American. We got married in the U.S. And when we did that, when we had a wedding, we went to City Hall and told them, hey, we're going to change your name. And we signed the paper and that was it. She changed her passport, you know, all that stuff. And we moved to Japan after that. And I wanted to do the same thing and went to the City Hall and told the person, I want to change my name. We just got married in the U.S. and he was like, no, you can't do that. You know, in Japan, married couples have to have the same last name. You have to be either Matsuo or Post. I'm like, no. Like, I'm going to combine it. So they told me to go to the family court 2 weeks after we got married. And I was like, wow, isn't family court where people go for divorce and stuff?
Yeah.
So I was a little shocked. But I went and asked the judge what I could do. And they told me that I could take her name because my wife, you know, already changed her name to Matsuo Post. So I literally took her name to make it Matsuo Post. Yeah.
あ、そういうことなんだ。
So it was like a
Wow.
1, 2, 3 step.
Yeah.
You had to go, that's amazing.
うまいこと考えましたね。
そうですね。
結果、松尾ポストさんになれたわけですね。
そうなんですよ。
だから結果として I took her name なのか。
Did you not think about calling the book I Got Post?
That could have been good, actually.
I Got Post.
I got Post. Yeah.
BJ の芸人魂が
Sorry, go on. It's a serious topic.
止まりませんけども。
And this book, you wrote it in English or Japanese?
So I wrote this in English, and I wrote it because I experienced gender bias during this whole name-changing process. It wasn't much about, obviously, you know, that part too. Like, I had to go to the family court, and it took me 8 months to officially change my name. Partially because I was working full-time, but also I had to go to the city halls, multiple of them, and the family court back and forth and all that. And after that, as many women have experienced, maybe some men too, it takes a lot of time to change, you know, your ID, like driver's license, passport, and all that. So that really opened my eyes about the topic of gender equality. And that really made me realize that, you know, the system is tilted in the favor of men, really. So, and, you know, it's a once in a lifetime task, you know, changing your name. And that got me thinking, what else is out there in our everyday life? And, you know, what I found was pretty astounding. And, you know, I started writing just to kind of keep my, you know, memories and record. I wasn't going to publish it. But as I did more research, I found out more and more, not just in Japan, but also outside of Japan, all over the world. This, you know, similar thing is happening. Gender inequality. So that's why I wanted to write it in English and publish it. So hopefully people can read it and learn more about gender equality in Japan and also other cultures. And for maybe Japanese readers, there is a lot of urawaza eigo regarding these topics too. So hopefully they'll catch that as well.
Yeah, so maybe that you can study along, learn some new English, and also get an insight into gender bias around the world. The book is out now on Kindle, published, physical hard copy as well.
Yeah.
What website can we find out more information from?
Yes, so it got published on December 1st on Amazon. So you can just go to Amazon and type in my name, Shu Matsuo Post, or I took her name. Or you can also visit my websites. My book's website is itookHerName.com. And my personal website is shumatsuopost.com. And I also have an Instagram handle, which is at Shu Matsuo Post.
I guess that's the benefit of having a very unique bilingual name. It's very easy to get the URLs and the Instagram social media.
Yeah. I got lucky with that. If you have like a, Brian Smith or something like that, there's probably
gone.
Tons of them, right? Yeah.
Suzuki Taro. Suzuki Taro. No, it doesn't exist.
ねえ、週松尾ポストさんって一度聞いたら忘れられないですもんね。
But on that note, Shu, thank you so much for coming back. Really interesting chat. Best of luck with the book, and we will do our best to kind of erase gender bias from our language and our podcast.
はい、そうですね。私たちも今日学んだことをしっかり心に刻んでね、注意していかないとですね、BJ ね。ちょっと私もすごい無意識にやってたんだなと今日気づかされましたので、はい、気をつけていきたいと思います。
Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah. See you in Japan soon.
Yes.
こちらこそです。Thank you very much. ありがとうございました。
Tell me, how good was that? Thank you very much, Shu.
ねえ、週末をポストさんわざわざアメリカからこうしてインタビューに答えてくれましたけれども、興味深かったですね。いや、すごいですね。海外の方と結婚するっていうだけでもいろいろ大変でしょう。Yeah, BJ, you married. You were like international. You had an international marriage, right?
Yeah.
ね
え。Yeah. Don't ask us what we've done with our surname. It's too complicated.
そうなの。BJ のカップルも、お名前のことに関してはいろいろあったみたいですけれども。
But tell me, since the interview, we've just changed our policy on gender bias in the podcast.
ジェンダーバイアスラングイッジのポリシーを私たちは変えることにしたと。How?
Well, up to now, whenever I or you accidentally said he for the fictional boss, we edited it out. We cut it and we redid the conversation.
今までだったらね、he とか架空のボスのこと he って呼んでしまったら、それは編集してカットしてましたけれども、But from now on,
as Shu said, we need to raise awareness in order to fix it. So from now on, instead of hiding it, we have created a new bit of music, a new gender bias sting.
これからは隠すのではなく、awareness raising が大事だということで、ジェンダーバイアスのスティング。What's sting? Every breath you take?
Same spelling. Same spelling.
Every move you make じゃなくて、
It's so S-T-I-N-G, same spelling, but it's what we use for little bits of music in a podcast on the radio.
ほうほう、ポッドキャスト。
Like a jingle.
ジングルのことをスティングっていうのね。
Yeah.
Okay. ジェンダーバイアススティングを作ると、これからは。
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll leave it in so everyone knows we made a mistake and then we can start thinking about it properly. Producer Ruben has created 3 different versions.
これからジェンダーバイアス的に間違った発言をした瞬間にそのジングル、スティングが鳴るシステムにこれから変わるわけね。もう、are they ready now?
He's got 3 versions and we're going to vote for them on the Urawaza Executive Lounge.
エグゼクティブラウンジで投票するので皆さんどのジングルがいいかちょっと注意深く聞いててくださいね。
Okay. Option 1, gender bias sting.
Sexism.
何これ
So,
怖いよ怖い。
Yeah, it's going to be very embarrassing, but it will raise awareness.
まあ
Option 2, please.
確かにレイザーアウェアネスはよくできるねこれはね。
You may not have noticed, but that was sexism.
That feels a little bit longer than a
あ、かっ
sting.
こいい。セクシズム。セクシズム。何もう一個あるのすごいな。
Yeah. What's the third one?
どこでクリエイティビティを発揮しているんだろうこの人たちは。
I've got nothing to do with these. Okay, go. Number 3, option 3.
Don't be so sexist. We can do better than this.
Don't be so sexist. We can do better than this.
Don't be
Don't be so sexist.
sexiest because we can do
Sexist,
better than
Sexist.
sexiest.
It's probably not.
Sexist.
セクシエストとセクシストと違う。何セクシエストって、
That
am
means
I pronouncing wrong?
Well, if you say sexiest, that means the number
The
one
sexiest.
sexiest
yeah.
person.
Sexy,
一番
sexier,
sexy.
sexiest. うん。
Whereas sexist means
はいはいはいはいはい。性差別主義者がセクシストね。
Yeah.
セクシスト、セクシエスト違うのね。
Very
Okay.
different.
I said it wrong. Sexiest, sexist. はいはいはいはい。Okay.
Okay,
Was
so-
that your voice percussion?
Yeah, that was
Ruben.
Not me. That was
Beatboxing.
producer Ruben. Yeah.
Beatboxing. Can you do beatboxing?
Not really.
But was that your voice?
Yeah, that was all my voice, that last one.
うわ、すっごい芸達者。無駄に芸達者だな。ごめん、無駄にって言ってごめんね。うわ、すごいな。いや、どれも良かったんじゃない？全部使えばいいような気もするけど、まあ、とりあえず人気投票するということで。
Nikki Tohio on the Gaishike, on the Urawaza Executive Lounge. How to join is detailed underneath. Okay, just a final note. Thank you again to Shu for joining for the interview. Check out his book. The details of the book is on sale now. Can be found on the podcast description.
ということで、ジェンダーバイアスジングル、スティングに投票したいよという方は、裏技エグゼクティブラウンジにぜひご参加いただけたらと思います。入会方法など詳細は、ポッドキャストですとか YouTube の概要欄に書いてありますので、そちらをぜひご確認ください。そして週末をポストさん改めまして本当にありがとうございました。I took her name。本の概要も載せておきますので、皆さんも彼のウェブサイトもありますし、週末さんが出てらっしゃるかっこいいショートムービーもありましたよ。Did you see it?
So no, I didn't.
いや、なんかね、週末ポストさんがね、なんでそういう本を書こうと思ったかっていう本のプロモーションビデオみたいなのもあったので、皆さんぜひ彼のウェブサイトもチェックしてください。
And I know Shu Matsuo Post is a big activist for gender equality, but we in Okomodiaki are as well, actually. And Ruben, producer Ruben, actually has an entire song, not a sting, but an entire song about gender equality.
週末ポストさんだけじゃなくて BJ とルーベンがやっているプロジェクトコメディ焼きもジェンダーイクワリティについての活動をしているということで、なんとルーベンが作ったジェンダーイクワリティソングが Does it really exist now?
It
Already?
does. It's called Mo Ippo Mai.
もう一歩前、
It's
一歩前をお進みください。
Yeah, it's
Move
a song.
forward, a step forward.
Yeah, take a step forward because I think men around the world, Japan, UK, New Zealand, need to take that one step forward in order to improve the way they think, the way they act. And often, I think when we talk about sexism, it feels like we're attacking, but it's not about that. It's just about awareness. So that, you know, mo ippo mai is a phrase all men understand.
All men understand.
Yeah, you know, we see it often like on the toilet, like the benki no mai ni kaite aru.
ああ、はいはいはいはい。便器ね、飛び散らないようにね、
Yeah.
もう一歩前にお進めくださいって書いてある。なんで私知ってんだろうね。Why do I know? I wonder why I know about.
To
ね、もう
find
一歩
out
前
why
に
she knows, join the
なんで知ってんだろう私。ね、もう一歩前に行ってね、書いてありますけども、あそこから Does it come from that phrase?
Yeah, yeah.
ああ、なるほど。ほうほうほうほう。もう一歩前にお進め。Is it written in UK or in New Zealand?
No, in the UK and New Zealand, we just go everywhere.
やっぱそれは綺麗好きな日本ならではの
Yeah.
注意書きということでよろしいんでしょうか。
Yeah.
へえ、面白い。はい、というわけで、
So go to the Comedy YouTube page. Maybe we'll post it on the外資系裏技page as well.
というわけで、YouTube のコメディ焼きアカウント、そして外資系裏技英語チャンネルにも、はい、載せると思いますので、ジェンダーイコーリティソング、皆さん楽しみにしててください。
Okay, and on that note, see you later, Terumi.
See you! Bye bye! Thank you, everyone! みんな元気でね。
Don't be so sexist. We can do better than this. Don't be so sexist. We can do better than this. Don't sexist. We can do better than this. Don't be so sexist. We can do this. Don't sexist. We can't do this. Don't be so sexist. We can do better than this.